The notification chimed at 11:47 p.m., piercing through Colton Raines's empty house like a blade. His calloused fingers trembled as he read the message. Marriage certificate dissolution request, digitally signed. State of Florida Department of Vital Records. Colton's weathered face remained stoic. 40 years of electrical work had taught him patience. One wrong move with high voltage could eliminate you. 12-year-old Caleb appeared at the stairs. Dad, you okay? Just work stuff, kiddo. Go back to bed. But Caleb descended anyway, settling beside his father. Mom's been gone 2 days. She packed weird stuff for a girls' weekend. What kind of weird stuff? A white dress, those fancy shoes. I heard her tell Stacy not to post anything yet. Colton's phone buzzed. A text from Maddie. Didn't mean to hurt you. I'm marrying Troy. You're not enough. Goodbye. Attached. Maddie in white beside Troy Blackwell, her boss. Miami skyline glittered behind them. Dad? Caleb's voice was small. I need to call Aunt Marie. Can you grab Mom's old iPad? Marie answered immediately. Colton? Marie, Maddie dissolved our marriage in Florida while I was in Wyoming. She did what? You can't dissolve a marriage unilaterally. Someone committed fraud. Caleb returned with the iPad. It's connected to Mom's cloud. For 37 years, Colton had never violated Maddie's privacy. That trust had been rewarded with forgery and betrayal. He opened the photo library. Images loaded chronologically, each one a fresh wound. Maddie and Troy at dinner 3 weeks ago. Wedding dress shopping. Signing papers at a notary office. Final photo, timestamped today. Wedding cake kiss, massive diamond ring. Is Mom not coming home? Caleb asked. I don't know, buddy, but we're going to be okay, and we're getting the truth. Marie's car pulled up. She swept in with briefcase and coffee thermos. Boys, we've got work to do. For 2 hours, they constructed a timeline. Colton's Wyoming departure Monday. Maddie's sudden weekend announcement. Caleb's overheard calls. The formal wear that made no sense. Here's what happened, Marie said. Maddie committed identity fraud. She's in a fraudulent marriage, and she abandoned parental duties without notice. What's our move? Secure assets. Tomorrow you're opening accounts in Caleb's trust. We're moving everything. Savings, checking, college fund. Legal? Completely. The money was earned during your marriage, which still exists in Colorado. Maddie can't dissolve marriage by forgery. They worked until 2 a.m., Marie filling 6 pages of legal strategy. After she left, Colton carried sleeping Caleb upstairs. In the master bedroom, Maddie's closet was permanently empty. She'd planned this methodically. Colton pulled out his phone, scrolling to Troy's office number. He didn't call, yet. They thought he'd crumble. They thought a blue-collar electrician couldn't fight a real estate mogul. They were about to learn the difference between creating sparks and controlling the entire grid. Dawn broke gray over Denver. Colton sat with cold coffee, reviewing Rebecca's forensics report. His sister had brought a digital expert, Rebecca Stallion, who specialized in cyber fraud. Interesting, Rebecca murmured over her NASA-grade laptop. Your wife's been busy. Metadata shows 6 weeks of planning, but the notary signature? Digitally manipulated. She turned the screen. See this pixel distortion? Copy and paste forgery. Someone took your signature from another document. Marie leaned forward. Felony fraud. Both states. Better yet, Rebecca continued. The submission came from South Beach Hotel. Payment method, Blackwell Development corporate card. So Troy paid to dissolve my marriage. Exactly. I need more time, but this is enough for criminal charges. Colton's phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Natalie from Mr. Blackwell's office. I saw the news. We should talk privately. I have information. They met Natalie at downtown coffee shop. She was nervous, 28, polished, but worried. What Mr. Blackwell and your wife did, it's wrong. Not the first time either. She pulled out voice recordings. I record meetings for transcription. He forgets I'm there. Troy's voice filled the space. It's a fake wedding, PR gold. Maddie will play reformed wife. I'll be successful executive. By quarterly reports, she'll be gone. Marie's pen moved rapidly. When was this? 3 weeks ago. There's more. Second recording. The husband's some blue-collar nobody. What's he going to do? Sue with what money? Maddie will transfer assets to shell companies and disappear. Why help us? Marie asked. I have a 12-year-old nephew. Also, Mr. Blackwell's been skimming client accounts. This marriage scheme is part of larger fraud. She slid over a flash drive. Everything's there. Bank records, forged documents, conversations, emails. You could be in danger. I'm flying to Portland tomorrow. Vacation time. One more thing. Your wife doesn't understand what she's gotten into. Mister? Blackwell targets married women with assets, convinces them to leave husbands, transfers money, then disappears. She's not his partner. She's his mark. Driving home, Marie spoke quietly. This is bigger than we thought. But doesn't change what Maddie did. I know. She made her choice. Rebecca had more news. Your wife tried accessing your 401k from Miami. Bank flagged it, locked the account. Password was Troy Maddie 2024, created 6 months ago. That evening, Colton mapped strategy on yellow legal pad. Marie had gone home to prepare filings. Rebecca delivered 47 pages of evidence. But Colton wasn't thinking about court. He was thinking about Caleb asking, "Did I do something wrong?" No child should ask that question. He researched Troy's empire, real estate holdings, partnerships, vulnerabilities. By midnight, he had 17 pages of notes. Troy and Maddie assumed destroying someone's life would break their spirit. Instead, it freed Colton from every civilized constraint. When you cross the wrong current, the entire grid shuts down. Friday morning, Colton loaded his truck for Miami. Marie watched from the porch, concerned. You sure about this? They made it personal involving Caleb. I need to see their faces. What if Mom wants to come home? Caleb asked. Colton knelt to his son's level. Sometimes people make choices that change everything. Your mom made hers. Now I'm making mine. You're my priority. Always. Miami's heat hit like an oven. Rafael Santos, Colton's old apprentice friend, met him at the airport. Hermano, Marie explained everything. You need anything, just ask. They surveilled Troy's yacht from Rafael's apartment overlooking the marina. Through binoculars, Colton watched Leverage, Troy's vessel where the evening investor party was planned. At 7:30, Maddie appeared on deck in the white dress Caleb had described. She looked happy, animated, playing successful executive's wife. Time to crash the party. Rafael arranged their cover, electrical contractors responding to power fluctuation complaints. Marina security was used to service calls during events. They approached by motorboat, Rafael's credentials getting them past checkpoints. Colton wore company shirt, carried legitimate electrical tools. Leverage was floating mansion, multiple decks alive with conversation. Troy's voice carried from upper deck, delivering investor pitch. Phase 1 complete. Land acquisition, zoning approvals. Phase 2 begins next quarter. Conservative projections show 300% ROI within 18 months. Rafael created distraction. Brief power surge causing lights to flicker. Nothing dangerous, but justified their presence. Colton slipped aboard during confusion, moving through lower deck with electrician's confidence. He understood luxury boat wiring, mechanical spaces, how to move unseen. Main deck, Troy holding court, Maddie playing perfect hostess. She'd always been good at reading social situations, adapting personality to fit crowds. Now it made him sick. Troy spotted Colton emerging from galley stairwell. Excuse me, who are you? Private event. Colton Rains. We need to talk. Maddie's wine glass shattered against deck, red liquid and crystal fragments. Face went white, then flushed. What are you doing here? Cleaning up your mess. Colton's eyes stayed on Troy. Though I suspect you're not calling shots. Troy recovered quickly. Gentlemen, ladies, excuse us. Minor family matter. Investors drifted toward bar, watching from corners. Wealthy people sensed drama like sharks sensed blood. 60 seconds to explain before I call security, Troy said. Colton pulled manila envelope from tool bag. Here's what happens. You void whatever sham ceremony you performed. Return every dollar from our accounts. Pray I don't press criminal charges. Troy laughed like breaking glass. Or what? Assault? Very expensive assault. No. I'm showing your investors what kind of man they're really funding. He opened envelope, printed bank records, victim conversations, fraudulent marriage documentation. Natalie sends regards. Your assistant's been keeping detailed records. Troy's confidence evaporated. You're bluffing. Am I? Colton raised his voice for investors. Ladies and gentlemen, you might be interested. Mr. Blackwell specializes in defrauding married couples. My wife's his latest victim, part of 7-year pattern. Several investors moved closer, understanding money and risk. They could smell con artists from nautical miles. That's defamation security. But yacht security was notably absent. Rafael had kept them busy with electrical problems. Maddie found her voice. Colton, please, we can work this out. No, you meant for things to go exactly this far. You forged my signature, stole our savings, left Caleb wondering what he did wrong. I would never hurt Caleb. You already did. You packed bags and abandoned a 12-year-old who still waits for your calls. Troy stepped forward, flushed with anger and alcohol. That's enough, you're trespassing. Actually, I'm here as creditor. When you used stolen money for this boat, it became recoverable asset. Colton pulled out phone. Marie? Yeah, I'm on yacht. Both here. Trigger phase 2. Troy lunged clumsily. Colton stepped aside with practiced ease. Troy stumbled against railing. Careful. Wouldn't want you overboard before authorities arrive. Boat engines approached. Coast Guard and Miami-Dade police. Lights cutting through darkness. What did you do? Maddie whispered. Filed federal complaint for wire fraud, money laundering, interstate transportation of stolen property. FBI takes dim view of marriage as cover for financial crimes. Troy frantically dialed his phone, trying to reach attorneys. But high-powered lawyers don't answer Friday 9 p.m. calls. Coast Guard boarded first, followed by FBI agents and windbreakers. Investors quietly slipped away. Agent Patricia Hartwell introduced herself. Mr. Rains, FBI Financial Crimes. We need formal statement. Of course. As agents raid rights and collected evidence, Colton faced Maddie final time. She looked smaller, diminished without Troy's wealth. I'm sorry, I know that doesn't fix anything. Colton pulled out Caleb's lucky baseball cap. He still sleeps with this, still waits for you to call. Maddie's composure cracked, tears streaming as she realized what she'd destroyed. I want to see him. That's up to a judge now. And Caleb. FBI agents escorted Troy and Maddie off in handcuffs. Investors scattered, party over, only wave sounds remaining. Raphael met him at Marina's edge. It's done? This part's done. Now we go home and deal with fallout. Flying home, Colton watched Miami lights fade. In carry-on, copies of FBI evidence. In phone, 17 missed calls from worried Caleb. Some electrical systems could be repaired. Others needed complete rebuilding. Colton looked forward to the rebuild. Denver courthouse steps were frost-slick as Colton climbed toward family court, Marie beside him with evidence briefcases. 3 weeks since Miami. FBI interviews, depositions, legal maneuvers transforming simple divorce into federal criminal case. Caleb handled media attention remarkably. Local news picked up the story. Local electrician exposes marriage fraud. But Colton shielded his son from worst coverage. Dad? Caleb wore navy suit, looking like young man trying on adulthood. What if judge asks about mom? Tell truth, kiddo. That's all anyone can ask. Judge Catherine Morrison's courtroom. Morrison. No-nonsense rulings, children's welfare expert. At 62, she'd seen every family dysfunction variation. Maddie sat with court-appointed attorney, vastly different from Miami glamour. Hair pulled back severely, clothes conservative. 3 weeks federal custody had stripped away Troy's wealth veneer. Troy wasn't present, denied bail as flight risk. His empire collapsed under investigation, investors fleeing, projects frozen. All rise. Honorable Judge Morrison presiding. Morrison reviewed files silently before addressing courtroom. Most unusual custody case in 23 years. Mrs. Henderson, you're facing federal fraud charges. Mr. Rains seeks full custody based on abandonment. Let me clarify. Mrs. Henderson, you understand your marriage to Mr. Blackwell is void. You remain legally married to Mr. Rains, Maddie's attorney whispered urgently. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Now, child's best interests. Morrison turned to Marie. Counselor, present your case. Marie stood confidently. Your Honor, respondent abandoned her 12-year-old son without notice to pursue fraudulent relationship. She forged documents, stole marital assets, exposed this child to danger through criminal association. Furthermore, Mrs. Henderson made no contact attempts in 3 weeks since arrest. No calls, letters, nothing indicating his welfare matters. Morrison reviewed documents. Mrs. Henderson, is this accurate? No contact attempts with your son? Maddie stood slowly, voice barely audible. No, Your Honor, I didn't know what to say. You didn't know what to say to your own child after abandoning him? I thought it better if he didn't see me like this. Morrison's expression showed she'd heard that excuse before. Mrs. Henderson, children don't benefit from protection from consequences. They benefit from parents taking responsibility. She turned to Colton. Mr. Rains, you've requested full custody. Will you facilitate relationship between son and mother? Your Honor, I'll support whatever's in Caleb's best interests, but won't force relationship that causes him pain. Appreciated. Now, I'd like speaking with Caleb in chambers. in-camera interview to understand his perspective. Caleb walked to chambers with steady gait of someone who'd decided. 20 minutes later, they returned. Caleb's face composed, but Colton saw telltale tear signs. Morrison resumed seat. Based on conversation with Caleb and reviewing all evidence, I'm prepared to rule. Courtroom fell silent. Mrs. Henderson, your actions constitute clear pattern of placing your interests above child welfare. You forged documents, stole assets, abandoned your son without explanation. Most concerning, continued failure taking responsibility for harm caused, Maddie cried quietly. Mr. Raines, you've demonstrated consistent commitment to son's welfare under extraordinary circumstances. Handled this with remarkable restraint, focusing on what matters, child's security and emotional health. Morrison looked at Caleb. Young man, you've shown impressive maturity. Your wishes have been heard and respected. Back to attorneys. I award full legal and physical custody of Caleb Raines to his father, Mrs. Henderson's parental rights suspended pending federal case resolution. Furthermore, given crime nature and family financial impact, I order restitution, $247,000. Total marital assets transferred to criminal enterprises. Marie squeezed Colton's shoulder. Full custody, financial restitution. Validation their evidence convinced family court judge Maddie posed genuine risk. After dismissal, Maddie approached slowly, attorney trailing reluctantly. Colton, could I speak to Caleb briefly? Colton looked at his son, expression hardened into adult resolve. Up to him. Caleb stood, meeting mother's eyes, first time since Miami return. What do you want to say? I want to apologize. Explain? No, Caleb interrupted quietly. You don't get to explain. You left, took Dad's money, lied to everyone, including me. Now you want to feel better apologizing? Maddie's composure cracked. Caleb, please. I'm still your mother. No, a mother stays, keeps promises, doesn't lie about packing suitcases. He paused, voice carrying emotional maturity, making Colton's chest tight with pride and pain. You broke the part of our house that doesn't get fixed with money, Mom. I can't pretend that's okay because you're sad about getting caught. Caleb walked away, leaving Maddie alone with relationship wreckage she'd chosen to destroy. Outside courthouse, Caleb was quiet, walking to truck. Denver's skyline stretched before them, familiar and comforting. You okay, kiddo? Yeah, I feel lighter, like I don't have to worry when the other shoe drops. Colton understood exactly. For months, he'd sensed something wrong but couldn't identify what. Uncertainty had been worse than betrayal. What happens now? Now we figure out normal for just us two, fix the house our way, plan camping trips, get back to being family, different kind than before. What about Mom? Colton considered carefully. Your mom faces consequences of her choices. That might mean prison depending on federal case, but that's not our responsibility anymore. Our responsibility is to each other. That evening, Chinese takeout celebration dinner felt more like wake for old life. House felt quiet in new way. Dad? Caleb looked up from lo mein. Do you think you'll marry again? Question caught Colton off guard. Don't know, buddy. Why? Because you're good dad. Good husband, even when Mom wasn't good wife. Someone should get to be happy with you. Colton's throat tightened. Right now, I'm happy with you. That's enough family. Caleb nodded, satisfied. Good, because I'm not sharing you for a while. We've got catching up to do. Cleaning up dinner, Colton's phone buzzed. Agent Hartwell message. Federal investigation expanded. Troy's scheme involved more victims. Building case for 20 years federal prison. Maddie would face 3 to 5 years as cooperating witness. Marriage fraud carried serious penalties, but cooperation and clean record might reduce sentence. Colton deleted message without responding. Federal case was out of his hands. He was done defining life by other people's crimes. Instead, he focused on present, helping Caleb with homework, planning weekend projects, slowly rebuilding security Maddie's betrayal had shattered. They were going to be okay. Different than before, but okay. For first time in months, that felt like enough. Act 5, Final Trial and Fallout. 6 months later, Denver federal courthouse buzzed as reporters gathered for Miami marriage fraud trial. Troy Blackwell, considerably less polished, sat beside defense attorney. His empire had crumbled. Projects abandoned, investor lawsuits pending, assets frozen. Colton sat with Caleb, both conservatively dressed for likely final court appearance. Marie advised their testimony would be brief, but crucial. Maddie took witness stand on trial's third day, testifying against Troy for reduced sentence. She'd lost weight during federal custody, hair cut short, looking younger but diminished. "State your name for the record," requested Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Walsh. "Madison Claire Rains, using legal married name despite everything." "Mrs. Rains, describe your relationship with defendant." Maddie recounted the story. Troy's systematic seduction, wealth promises, gradual emotional and financial manipulation. Signing documents she didn't understand, transferring money from accounts shared with Colton, participating in what she'd been told was symbolic ceremony. Did Mr. Blackwell indicate this pattern involved other women? "Yes," barely above whisper. He showed photographs of previous wives, said it was game. Wealthy women were easy marks because they were bored. Troy's attorney objected repeatedly, but damage was done. Maddie's testimony, combined with Natalie's recordings and financial records, painted picture of man viewing marriage as theft tool, women as disposable assets. When Colton testified, he spoke with same calm precision throughout ordeal. "Mr. Rains, how has this affected your relationship with your son?" "Brought us closer. Caleb learned he could depend on me when everything fell apart. I learned family isn't about structure you build, it's about foundation you maintain." "Do you harbor resentment toward your wife?" Colton considered carefully. "I resent the choices she made, but I'm grateful her actions revealed truth before more damage to our son." Troy's attorney attempted portraying him as legitimate businessman, entrapped by desperate women. Strategy failed when prosecutors introduced 7 previous fraud schemes. Jury deliberated less than 4 hours. "Guilty on all counts," foreman announced. "Wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, marriage fraud, first degree." Judge Harold Foster, known for harsh white-collar sentences, didn't disappoint. "Mr. Blackwell, you've shown complete disregard for marriage sanctity, family welfare, and working people's financial security. I sentence you to 22 years federal prison without parole." Troy's face went white as bailiffs approached. His attorney was preparing appeals, but everyone understood Troy's days manipulating vulnerable women were over. Maddie's sentencing came 2 weeks later, much quieter proceeding. Judge Morrison, same family court judge who'd awarded Colton custody, had been assigned based on marriage fraud expertise. "Mrs. Rains, you've cooperated fully with prosecutors and expressed genuine remorse. However, you betrayed not only your husband but your own child. I sentence you to 3 years federal prison, followed by 2 years supervised release. Additionally, you're required to pay full restitution to scheme victims, including your own family." Maddie nodded, accepting without protest. Led away, she looked toward gallery where Colton and Caleb sat. Caleb's expression was neutral. Not angry, not sad, just resolved. Outside courthouse, reporters shouted questions, but Colton ignored them. This story had never been about public vindication. It had been about protecting his son and ensuring justice. "How do you feel, Dad?" Caleb asked, walking to truck. "Tired, but relieved. It's finally over." That evening, pizza and movie celebration, their new Friday tradition. House felt different, lighter, as if Maddie's betrayal had been weight they hadn't realized they carried. "Dad, I've been thinking about Mom." Colton muted television, giving full attention. "I don't hate her. I'm disappointed and angry about what she did to you. But I don't hate her. Does that make me weak?" "No, kiddo. Makes you compassionate. Anger and hatred are heavy things to carry. You don't have to carry them because others think you should." "Will I ever want to see her again?" "Maybe. Maybe not. Either way is okay. If you decide you want to talk to her someday, we'll figure it out together." Caleb nodded, satisfied. At 13, he'd grown 3 inches and developed emotional maturity from surviving family trauma with strong support. 3 months after Maddie's sentencing, Colton received a letter from her Texas federal prison. She'd been assigned electrical maintenance, irony not lost on either. "Colton, I don't have right to ask forgiveness, and I'm not. I just want you to know I understand what I destroyed and why Caleb doesn't want to see me. I'm learning electrical work here, hard, honest work requiring precision and patience, qualities I never developed outside these walls. Instructor says I have potential if willing to put in effort. I think about you and Caleb every day. Hope someday he'll understand that losing you both was consequence that taught me who I actually was underneath all the wanting and taking. Take care of our boy. You're the parent he deserves. Madison." Colton read twice, then put in desk drawer. He didn't share with Caleb, not yet. Maybe someday when son was older. Maybe not. Choice would be Caleb's. A year after trial, Colton and Caleb stood in backyard installing new landscape lighting, project they'd planned since spring. Working together had become favorite weekend activity. "Hand me that wire stripper," Colton said, connecting last fixture. Caleb passed tool, stepped back, admiring work. "Gonna look amazing when dark. Should we test it?" "Absolutely." Colton flipped switch on control panel, backyard transformed. Soft LEDs illuminated pathways, highlighted garden they'd planted together, created peaceful evening atmosphere, making house feel like home. "We did good work, Dad." "Yeah, we did." They stood in comfortable silence, father and son, survivors of storm that ultimately made them stronger. The electrical grid they'd built, literal and metaphorical, was solid, reliable, built to last. "Dad, I'm proud of you for everything you did, how you fought for us." Colton pulled son close, feeling weight of responsibility and love from being someone's entire world. "I'm proud of you too, kiddo, for being strong when everything fell apart, for choosing forgiveness over bitterness, for becoming the kind of person who makes others want to be better." Walking toward house, Colton's phone buzzed. Marie text. "Troy's appeals denied, full 22 years. Justice served." Colton deleted without responding. Justice had been served, but more importantly, healing had begun. Their family's electrical grid had been damaged, but they'd rebuilt it stronger. This time, they'd made sure it was built to withstand anything,